Oh, right. Oh, wow. Okay, right. I can see a lot of people in the waiting room already. Jesus. Okay, we've got over 100 people. Always nice to see people on time. It's always a good start. Okay, welcome in Adele. Welcome in Anya. Welcome in Helen, Helene, James, Joanna, Joanne, Nas, Naomi, Brina, Paul. All right, we're going to give it a couple of minutes for everyone to roll in. Like I mentioned to the guys in the WhatsApp, if you've been in that group, we've had over 2,000 people register for this evening's event. So we'll give it a couple of minutes just for everyone to roll in. We'll go through a bit of housekeeping. I'll bring up my slides, double check that everyone is okay and can see and hear me all right, and then we will get started. So hello everyone, and nice to see everyone being friendly in the chat as well. Hi from Wales. You must be brooking it. All right, David. I've done a couple of these in the past, so I'm good. And I've spent the former years of my career presenting to senior directors and CEOs as a project manager. So it's familiar territory for me. But no, I appreciate the concern. Hi, all. Great to be here. Hi, Nicola. Hi, Dorothy. Hi, Romain. Just joking. Good luck. Thanks, David. Hi, Ben. Right, we're going to give it a couple of seconds. Let me just get my screen up, get that all open and working, and then we'll jump into it. Right, that's that piece. Go, share that. And bring this up. Right, so we have ended up having to host this across two platforms now. I can see we've got just under 800 people now across both those platforms, which is absolutely incredible. So the response to this has been quite frankly insane. So really, really excited to share all of this. We've got people joining in from Sydney, Australia. Hi, Rachel, or Rochelle. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. So first person to tell me in the chat that they can see my screen, my slides, and hear me okay gets brownie points. Maggie, thank you. Naz, Claire, Louise, Chris, thank you very much. Glad to see you're paying attention. Right, I'm just going to send out the final text reminder to everyone that we are getting started, and then I will jump right in. Right, I'm going to grab that link, send this out here. There we go. All right. So yeah, like I said, absolutely buzzing. This is a really big event. It's going to get busy. The chat is going to get busy as well. We'll do what we can to manage that as best as we can, essentially, whilst I'm going through the important aspects of the system that I really want you to make sure you're paying attention to. We'll be pausing the chat so that you can pay attention, you're not distracted by anything going on there, so that you can walk away with the information you signed up to get, essentially. So that's really, really important. That said, I will be do use the Q&A feature, essentially. I'll be monitoring that. My team will be looking at that as we go, capturing all the kind of frequently asked questions so that towards the end of this presentation, I can go through the ones that are most frequently asked to make sure I'm getting as much help to as many of you as possible, killing as many birds with one stone as possible by answering those questions. As you can expect, with over 2,000 registrations, we're not going to get to every single question, but I will do my best. Okay, so like I said, use the Q&A. If you can't see that, just click on the More button on your Zoom bar, and then scroll across the way you can see Q&A, post your questions in there. Please don't just post comments and responses and things like that in there. It's not the chat, it is just for questions. All right. So welcome in. Should we get started? I think we are just under 1,000 people now across those two platforms. So welcome in to everyone who has just rolled in. Zoe, Zane, Wendy, Simon, hello. Right, let's make sure this is working properly and then we'll make this count. I will do, Steve. I'll do my best for you. All right, there we go. Welcome in. Let's begin. I am really excited. For those of you who have been tuned into the WhatsApp group over the last few days that we've been talking about this, you'll already know how excited I am. I can't wait to share with you what is inside this event this evening. And you should be excited too, because this is the first day of your journey towards financial peace of mind and a comfortable earlier retirement, if you want it to be, of course, right? If you take action on what I'm going to teach you and tell you to do today, then it will be, right? It goes without saying. But if you don't take action, then the things things will just stay the same, right? The circumstances that you weren't happy about, which led you to want to join this webinar in the first place, will not improve if you do nothing, right? I know it kind of sounds obvious, but it just has to be said. So please do take some form of action off the back of this event this evening. In fact, I added this in last minute because I want to show you just how close, like before we dive in, I really wanted to show you just how close you could be to having the financial security, control, and peace of mind it is that you are looking for. So this is James. This is James's story. James attended one of the last events we hosted back in July last year. At 46 years old, when he joined that event, he had no retirement plan and absolutely no idea how to build one, in his words. He thought, again, in his words, that he was destined to retire into poverty. He watched the similar kind of event, obviously I've improved it since then, the similar kind of event to what you're watching this evening. He claimed the same gift that you're all going to have the opportunity to claim, and then actually decided that he just wanted to work directly with me to just speed up the process and get his plan in place. The next day, after signing up with me, he had a brief moment of thinking, have I done the right thing here? And he sent this message to the community, which is absolutely fair enough. What was really nice for me to see was that he was met with a bunch of replies from people just letting him know how much it was going to change his life, because that's the impact it had on them already. And within 6 weeks of joining that event back in July, this 46-year-old man, now a good friend of mine, who thought he was destined to retire into poverty at 67, had a money management system in place, making him £600 a month better off than he was before. He had eliminated 90% of his debts. He had a 3-month emergency fund in place and an investment plan and strategy that's going to enable him to retire to afford the lifestyle he wants at 61. Right. So from thinking he was destined to retire into poverty in his 70s to now knowing that he can retire as early as 61 with enough to maintain his lifestyle. That's the difference that can be made if you have a system and you follow it. And I want to show you just quickly what he had to say about it, because really, I just want you to be able to hear from someone who's actually been sat where you are sitting literally right now.
When you joined, as many people are, right, you were skeptical, and I, as I said to you, right, I encourage people to be skeptical, because there's some crazy people on the internet that will try and steal money from people. Unfortunately, I shouldn't laugh, it's terrible. But and when you joined, you had a moment of like, oh, have I done the right thing? Is this all legit? Like, is this going to work out? So I suppose I wanted to ask that question for you specifically. What would you say to anyone who's maybe like having those thoughts and wonders if this is legit and that kind of thing, like, and is on the fence, but maybe doesn't want to take that leap because they're worried about that kind of risk?
Well, I can only say from my end, it is 100% legitimate. And like you say, when I signed up, but in all honesty, Joe, when I signed up, I pretty much wiped out the one bit of contingency I had, and as I've been telling my girlfriend and my friend and whatever, honestly, I already feel like it's the best money I've ever spent.
Love it. So it was worth it then?
Really worth it.
Amazing. I'm glad to hear it.
So as you know, today I'm going to be teaching you now. James has had his bit done. I'm going to be teaching you how to secure your current and future finances, how to build wealth on autopilot and retire as soon as feasibly possible for you and your circumstances, to do what you want with your life. And using the system that I put in place for James, and at this point over 300 other people, we are 3 years into running the system now. This is all possible with just 15 minutes of your time per week and no investing experience required. Okay, so let's test who's paying attention. Drop a yes in the chat if you want to learn how this system works. And then we will begin. Ryan, David, James, Liesel, Chris, Amanda, Ben, and Amy. I can't keep up. There's too many names. All right, you're all paying attention. I'll test you again in 10 minutes and we'll see see how many of you are still with us. All right, nice. I'm going to dive in right now, but just to remind you though, there is going to be a gift for a select few of you who stay until the end of this, who watch the event until the end, which is now worth £600. Now, we have had an extraordinary response to this event. So for that reason, to celebrate that and to make this as big as possible, we have increased the value of the gift from £300 to £600 that you're going to get the opportunity to claim. So on top of that as well, and I alluded to this to the guys in the WhatsApp group, but this will be news to a lot of you, a limited number of you who claim that gift will also be offered an exclusive opportunity as well, which is worth £2,000. £100,000. And this is the first and the last time that we'll be doing this, because I don't even think it's feasible, to be honest, but in terms of financially from my side, but we're doing it anyway. Like I said, one off, we're going to see what happens. So please make sure, make sure you stay with us. Seriously, if you are serious about drastically improving your finances and your future wealth potential, stick around. All right, let's dive in. So in this webinar, I'm going to be teaching you how to truly take control of your finances, not the usual kind of BS that you see online these days. I'm going to show you the proven tools, processes, and systems that will enable you to save and invest more, become debt-free faster, and how to set yourself up for a more comfortable and earlier retirement than you ever thought possible. But you're probably sat there thinking, well, that's great, but who are you? And why are you teaching me this, right? It's really good questions. So let me answer those. First of all, on the who am I part, I think that's important to cover. Simply put, I am a husband and a father who really just wanted more for me and my family. And nearly 7 years ago now, actually, decided enough was enough. I started doing what I could to secure our finances, to try and pay off the debt that we had, and figure out how to build just something that resembled wealth and financial flexibility for our future, and mainly our daughter's future as well. At that point, our daughter was on the way. So what I did was I began documenting my journey, my findings, the things that I was learning. That interest became a hobby. The hobby became an absolute obsession as it improved our lives and made us wealthier and gave us that financial flexibility. And that obsession has now become a business, which now has over 150,000 followers across multiple platforms, all of which you can see there, or ID verified, as you can see, which I now use to transform other people's lives. We've had 315 people come through my one-on-one coaching program, and 100% of those people are now better off, more financially secure, and set up for a more comfortable and earlier retirement than they thought was possible for them before having completed it. So that really is brass tacks what it comes down to. Why am I teaching you how to secure your own finances and build a financially secure future? The answer to that is really simple as well. Really, it's because I feel like I've been where many of you are right now, right? Maybe not with the exact financial circumstances, but definitely with the same financial concerns, stresses, and anxieties that you have, right? And the same kind of like goals and desires for your future and your family's financial security, but like you, just not having a clue about what to do, where to begin, or how to maybe even just get yourself out of the hole that you feel like you might be starting from. That was my situation, at least. Now, I'm very glad to report that I figured it out. Obviously, wouldn't be standing here if I didn't. But I escaped my 9 to 5 at the age of 32. I'm currently on track to hit millionaire status at 37. I'm currently 35. And my wife has fully retired at the age of 33. And we will both be completely financially independent and work optional when I hit 42. Okay. And the thing is I'm nothing extraordinary. I came from very humble beginnings, like which a lot of people don't believe. So I know for a fact that all of you can, at the very least, drastically improve your current circumstances and your future prospects by taking action on the system I'm going to be teaching you today. I think in summary, if I had to put it in a nutshell, right, I'm stood here teaching you this system today because this is everything I wish I had at the start of my journey. Talking of starting though, where the hell do you actually start? Unfortunately, this is where 99% of people just fail to begin with before they even kind of step off the starting line. And that's because they just don't step off the starting line. They just never get started at all because they are stuck. And this was my exact issue. So tell me if any of this sounds familiar to you, right? I knew I needed to do something. So I was following different social media accounts, like, 20, 30 different social media accounts, watching YouTube videos on my lunch break, listening to podcasts on the way to work and on the way from work. Quite frankly, just getting bombarded with information every day, getting 20 different and often conflicting opinions on what you should be doing with your money, which ultimately means you do nothing because you're scared of doing the wrong thing for you and it's sending you further behind than you already are, right? I can see a few people saying, yes, definitely, like that's me, always, Jamie, yeah, exactly. And although I'm glad that you can relate because it means you're in the right place. And it also means that we're about to change that. But I know it's a shitty situation. It's not a nice feeling, right? So I'm also not glad that you feel that way because I've been there and I know it's not nice. But I think for me, what it was is I kind of quickly realized that like the magic pill or formula I was looking for that would miraculously fix my specific problems and show me what I needed to do just never fell into my lap. You know, I realized early on that that magic pill, that magic formula simply just didn't exist in the form that I needed. So I had to create it for myself. But doing so took me 2 years, 16 books, over 180 hours of watching YouTube videos, 122 podcast episodes, and £7,000 invested in courses and mentors for me to be able to understand the rules, processes, and systems I was going to implement, the different investing and tax strategies I could take advantage of, and to build the tools I needed to get started. And that's the thing, is that was all just to be able to get started, right? It's taken another 7 years from there of trial and error and blood, sweat, and I'm literally tears at certain points, not even metaphorically, and non-stop application to get this system and these tools to where they are today. And that's something I really want to emphasize here is like, this isn't something I did once many years ago that might not be relevant anymore. And I didn't come from money, far from it. I grew up on a council estate and was never given a penny. And I've never worked in any kind of like 6-figure role at some out of touch money management institution, like a lot of the financial influencers you see out there who are now trying to tell normal people how to manage their money like they actually understand. What I'm teaching you this evening, this is the stuff that worked for me, got me out of a hole and got me to where I am now, as I explained a minute ago, still works for me now, and is also working for the hundreds of other people in my program who are applying the same system as we speak. Okay. I suppose what I'm trying to say is like, I'm in the trenches with you all now, still implementing this stuff that I'm teaching you and still using and improving this system and these tools that I'm showing you today so that you can continue to benefit from them. Right. I've taken the process I ended up following, eliminated the guesswork, the costly mistakes, and the setbacks that I had to endure along the way, and combined this with now 9 years of knowledge and experience applying this with over 300 students, and created a simple, structured system that you can take advantage of today on day one of your journey, right? If you take action, of course. Now, before I tell you exactly how this works, I want you to know what kind of results you can actually expect to get when you implement it, just so you know that it's going to be worth your time listening to this. I can see someone's already being a little bit impatient in the chat, too much time talking, blah, 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 blah. Daniel, if you don't want to be here, feel free to leave. Now, but like I said, before I tell you how it works, I want you to know what kind of results you can expect to get, because I think that's really important so that you know it's going to be worth your time listening to this. So these are the average results of those who've implemented this system themselves, right? On average, they are saving £1,700 a month more than they were before. They are cutting £23,000 in interest off their debts. They're becoming debt-free 10 years faster as a result. They are set to retire up to 18 years earlier. And they are saving £468,000 over their investing lifetime by using this system and this strategy instead of a traditional advisor and platform charging them 1.5% ongoing management fees. So you can see, even just from that last point, this is why we're able to get such substantive results for the people that we work for, right? Ultimately, what this system does is it puts more money in your pocket today and in the future. Because if you've got more money working for you now, it gives that money a bigger amount, more time to grow, which ultimately makes you wealthier. That's really what it comes down to. But there's just methodical systems and steps to follow, which we'll be getting into. And the thing is, as well, is those results, like I say, they are averages. They are not outliers of like, the best we've ever got. They are the average. Of course, there are numbers lower than that and there are numbers higher than that, but those are the average results. So that's the important thing to remember. And the other important thing to say is like, all of those people started from similar circumstances to you and I. As I mentioned earlier, I've been where many of you are. And if I haven't, I've helped someone in similar circumstances to you. And this system has made all of those people better off than they were previously. That's why it's worth paying attention this evening. I mean, those on a low income and unsure how to build any kind of wealth, those on a good income, but feeling like they had nothing to show for it in terms of financial success, well-being, and confidence in their future. Those feeling stuck in a cycle of debts with no idea how to escape them. And those who have no plan for their future, wanting an alternative to this prospect of working until they are in their 70s or older. One of the most terrifying stats I know of at the moment is that the fastest growing age group in the workforce right now in the UK workforce is those aged 65 to 75, because people are hitting those later stages of their lives and realizing they've not had a plan in place, and that now they've got no choice but to work until the end of their days. So it's not a position you want to be in. Ultimately, whether these people who have, come to me for help, whether they are starting in their 20s or their 60s, and we literally have people from age 22 up to 67 at the moment, all of them are now set to be able to retire earlier than they thought was possible for them beforehand, with more money than they thought they would have. And on that final point that I mentioned about the prospect of working until you are 70 or older, that's actually what initially kickstarted my entire journey, right? So I received a letter from my workplace pension provider when I was 24, telling me that I was going to have to work until I was 82 if I wanted a modest 20k a year income in retirement, right? 82 to be on 20 grand a year. Now, obviously, when I saw this, I thought what any normal person would think. I swore quite a lot. And then I thought, how is this possible? I need to talk to an expert, because I wasn't one at the time, right? So I had a chat with the pension advisor at work. And what he told me, it really just confirmed that I had no chance of retiring early or having the life and the future I wanted for me and my family if I just blindly followed the path that, the system wanted me to follow, really, especially if I depended at all on advisors to help me or the government to support me. And those two things, that's where, sadly, 99% of people are going wrong. That's what they are doing. It's exactly what they're doing, through no fault of their own, by the way, simply because we aren't educated on how to properly manage our money and our finances, how to avoid or manage our debts, and how to plan for retirement. I mean, at the very least, they could teach us how to manage the pensions that we are all given when we are thrust out into the workforce, right? But they don't even do that. And it is just absolutely criminal, if you ask me. But unfortunately, the bottom line is the knowledge, structure, and tools you need to achieve your full financial potential are not readily available for free. And because of this, most people just make a mess of their finances and get stuck working into later life, full of anxiety and the fear of retiring into poverty, like we heard from James, or maybe even just like a small financial blip leading to financial hardship. The solution that was offered to me by the advisor at work was save more. He wanted me to work up to a 20% pension contribution within the next 5 years, which for me, quite frankly, at the time was just impossible. I was making 24k a year. I was like about 3 years out of uni. I was renting a flat with my then girlfriend, who's now my wife. And we wanted to do all the things that a young couple want to do, right? We wanted to get our own house. We wanted to get engaged. We wanted to start a family. Essentially, all of the things that are like the most expensive things you ever do in your life, we had coming up. So life was not getting any cheaper for me anytime soon. So how the hell was I supposed to sacrifice 20% of my already seemingly small salary and find all this extra money to save, right? It just wasn't happening. So as I saw it, I kind of got fed up. I had two options, and this is something that will come up for you as well. Option one is not the right one. I could keep doing what I was doing. This is really like just bury your head in the sand and hope for the best, right? Keep living paycheck to paycheck, accrue more and more debt for the things society tells you need, whilst I just tried to cobble together the money for a house and a family only to retire when I was 82, right? I mean, life expectancy for males in the UK right now, if you don't know, is 79. So it wasn't looking too great. Or option two, I could invest my time and the little money I did have into learning how to manage and invest my money the right way, with the goal of escaping my 9 to 5 and setting myself up to retire ASAP. Now, the outcome from me taking option two is that I've now wiped 42 years off of my retirement age. I've escaped my 9 to 5 at the age of 32, and the comparatively small amount I invested to learn how to do this has already paid for itself hundreds of times over, if not more. And man, am I glad I invested in myself when I had the chance to do so, because now I have control of my time, my money, and my future. I've got certainty, I have clarity, and above all, and I think this is something that's just really hard to put a price on, confidence about where I'm headed in life and what my future looks like and what I need to do to get there. And this is exactly what you'll have when you implement this system. All you need, I know that the most commonly asked question when we run this event is, will this work for me though, because of my circumstances? They are XYZ, right? I'm this age and blah, 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 blah. All you need for this system to work is an income and the desire for a better future, right? So long as you've got some kind of money coming in and you want a better future for yourself, then this will give you a better future than you will otherwise have without it. That's really the bottom line. And I know this, like we've got examples here. This is what Travis had. Travis just wanted a better future for himself. When he found me, he wanted to make sure that he wasn't stuck working into his late 60s like he saw his parents doing. And he'll now have the option to stop working from the age of 48 if he chooses, with over 6 figures of passive income. Okay. And here's what he had to say about getting his plan in place.
Cool. So when it came to obviously wanting to retire early and stuff like that and becoming financially free, did you have any kind of like certainty over when you might be able to make that happen before you joined?
Not even a little bit. I had no idea. You know, I had hoped, I guess that would be the best word for it. I had hoped it would be around what we were talking about. I think I even said like 55 originally, just kind of trying to overshoot that number, not trying to undershoot it too much. But yeah, I mean, I had no idea. I mean, I hope to retire next week, but obviously that's a little, that's a little egregious, So, I mean, I was trying to be realistic with it, but yeah, I had no idea when I was going to retire. So it's awesome to see, what it even looks like right now.
Yeah, no, amazing. So yeah, what about now? Do you feel confident that you're like gonna like not only be able to retire early, but also like be confident that you're gonna have enough money to retire?
Oh yeah. And I definitely think based off, what we talked about too, I'm going to be able to potentially even shave that number down, depending on the second income as well. So yeah, it all might look even better, when I go through that stuff. So
one of the last things I want to ask is, what would you say to someone right now who's like in a similar kind of position and is like on the fence about joining?
I would say, don't wait. There's no reason to wait. I mean, you're just going to be kicking yourself down the road if you do.
Pretty much. And I think it's important to hear from these guys because it gives you an opportunity to hear, like I say, hear from someone other than me about the system and how impactful it's been for their lives. And so that you can see if you relate to what, not just like their circumstances, but how they felt before versus how they feel now. And I think that's summed up really, really well by what Jade says in this video. By the way, she's now going to have the option to stop working at 44 with the passive income that we've helped her generate.
What you wanted when you joined was that just kind of general better money management, like you touched on, to feel that kind of confidence that you mentioned so that you could feel confident about the future and potentially expanding your family. And then ultimately the big one is that retiring ASAP. And for you, it was you wanted to retire in your 40s and that you seemed pretty like dead set on that. And now I'm really glad to report we have all of those things, right? And so, we've put a monthly money management process in place that's brought you kind of like back into the green each month by quite a decent amount as well. We've got a detailed and optimized plan now that's going to enable you to purchase that property that you wanted. And you've got a plan in place that's going to enable you to retire by at least 44. And I think that's like worst case. I think we're going to do better than that. So with that said, how do you feel about things now?
I feel really good. I definitely left feeling extremely empowered, and that is not how I was feeling before. I was probably feeling the opposite of that. So just like having a plan, I would say is pretty priceless, and like feeling like when my job annoys me, kind of just knowing that the retirement is like not too long in the future if I stick to this plan is a really good feeling.
And then how have you found like the overall process and like the tools and the course?
Yeah, I love the fact that it kind of just walks you through exactly what to do. That like pre-work that you had us do and like the way you had us lay it all out was a really good exercise to do. I also just find like I've been going through some of the course like at my leisure and like listening to the recordings and just find it super interesting. I find myself taking notes and just things to remember for just overall financial health. So I'm finding it really, really awesome. Definitely worth the value for me.
That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. So in that case, then what would you say to anyone who's like maybe thought about joining or who comes across this video and is maybe on the fence and considering joining the program, but maybe hasn't taken that leap yet?
I would say definitely join. It's 100% worth it for just the peace of mind of knowing like even if it's never too late, if you haven't started your financial plan, just knowing what the next steps are and like having that clearly delineated has been awesome. I also just think you really know your stuff, so it's been great to work with you and just feel confident in that plan. So I would say do it.
And that's what I wanted you to hear there is it is never too late to just get everything clearly delineated and finally gain control, put yourself in the driver's seat of your current circumstances and your financial future. Because once you have that, you can hear it in just their tone of voice of how much more confident they are in their position, right? It's a game changer. The bottom line is everyone who has implemented this process has benefited from it. So we can say that everyone who implements this process will benefit from it because we haven't let a single person down yet. Whether you are young, old, low income or high income, no debt versus lots of debt, you will be better off, more financially secure and retire years earlier than you otherwise would have, with confidence in your future and hundreds of thousands more in the investment accounts that you maybe don't even have yet, or that simply aren't working as hard as they could be for you right now. So who is this training for? And then I'm going to jump into the system. If you want a solid plan in place for your current and future finances, if you want to learn how to manage and grow your money effectively, if you want to make sure that the money you make and work hard for is going to good use and working hard, if not harder than you work for it, this is for you. If you want to be able to become debt-free sooner rather than later, if you want to learn how to invest for your family's future and not just your own, if you want to be able to retire when you choose and not when the government tells you can, and preferably ASAP, and if you just want to be in control of your future and your life, then this training is for you. If you're not interested in those things, or you're looking for some kind of get-rich-quick scheme, then you've come to the wrong event tonight, so do feel free to leave. But if you want an actionable guide that you can use to achieve all of this yourself, then drop a yes in the chat one last time so I can still see who is still paying attention. Yes, I appreciate the capital letters. Amazing. Yes, 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 yes. Amazing. Karen, Helen, Ben, Chris, Rachel, Joe. Nice name. Elizabeth, right, too many names for me to keep up with. I get it. You're committed, and I'm really excited to jump into this now. Right, so I am going to hit pause on the chat and dive right in. So grab a pen and paper and pay attention because this is important. What I'm about to run through here is the financial freedom framework. This is the unique step-by-step system that eliminates the guesswork from money management and investing and helps you build wealth on autopilot. And when I say the unique step-by-step system, I mean it's unique. No one else has this. I've built this from the ground up over the last 9 years. The systems, the steps, the tools, and everything are all mine or things I have had commissioned specifically for this process. You cannot get ChatGPT to do this, and I know because I have tried. Right? It doesn't work. So please do pay attention. And when I say this does help you build wealth on autopilot, I mean it, because once it's set up, it's rinse and repeat. Okay. Pens at the ready. I'm about to jump in. Phase 1. This is the start of the process. It's called the baseline phase. In this phase, it's critical. Okay. This is where we are going to determine your current state, which is absolutely key. And I can't emphasize this point enough. Right. This is about facing the uncomfortable truths and the things that most people would rather bury their heads in the sand about, which is why they stay stuck where they are and never become as wealthy as they otherwise could have been. So this is where you get the opportunity to overtake those people and get to where you want to be, right? It's really, really important we understand where you currently stand with your current circumstances. After all, how will you know how to get to where you want to be if you don't already know where you are, right? You need to have a point A and a point B in order to map the most efficient route between those 2 points. So you need to know where you currently stand right now. So that is the first and foremost step. It's called a 3-month look back. We're going to go over your finances with a fine-tooth comb and really get to understand what's been going on. It's not about judgment or shame. It's about understanding so we can do better going forwards. We're also going to clarify and refine the goals you have to the critical few that will actually move the needle for you. Too many people are spreading themselves too thinly across trying to achieve 6 different goals all at once, not seeing any progress of any one of them, and therefore getting disheartened with the whole thing and giving up. That's not how we roll. We focus on what actually makes a big impact, gives you that feel-good factor and an immediate kind of tangible, benefit in your bank account and in your investment accounts and so on and so forth, so that you get that momentum to carry forwards. We're going to cut out any waste that you have in your current month-to-month finances and spending habits. We're going to ensure that you are prioritizing also the expenses and things you do each month that provide you and your family with not only a roof over your head and food in the fridge, but also money for experiences and happiness and fulfillment. That is what this is about. It is not about living on rice and beans just so you can retire a couple of years earlier. That's not how this works. It needs to be sustainable, and that's what we have built in. And finally, in this phase, we're going to map out the plan for achieving your short and medium-term goals, such as becoming debt-free, establishing an emergency fund, deposit for a house, that kind of stuff, right? So we'll map all of that stuff out. Now, based on those last couple of things I mentioned, so, short and medium-term goals, debt freedom, emergency fund, savings, that kind of stuff, this is important because the order in which you do those things depends entirely on your specific circumstances. And if you do them in the wrong order, it could cost you more and end up delaying your progress quite significantly. So you need to make sure you build out the most financially efficient and cost-effective route for doing this. The gift I have for you will help with that, okay? One thing I want to make clear here is how critical this phase is, especially the part around understanding your current state, like I mentioned. Not only because of what I mentioned previously, but because you need to know what your monthly expenses are today, once optimized, for two distinct reasons. Firstly, so you know what free cash flow you have, so the gap between your expenses and your income. So you know what free cash flow you have to achieve your short-term goals, i.e. debt elimination or emergency fund savings, right? And secondly, to accurately estimate what your desired lifestyle is going to cost when you are financially free. Now, we call this your FI number or financial independence number, and we have a really simple, structured method of ensuring that this is as painless and as accurate as possible to calculate when we work through the process with the students in the academy, okay? And it's all using the same tool that I'm going to show you shortly, but with some additional tabs that you won't see, of course, right? As you can appreciate, they paid good money to have that broken down in fine detail and to have it made as simple and easy to accurately calculate as possible. And it also helps, kind of goes without saying, to have someone like myself who's done this for themselves and 300 plus other people to help you ensure that it's not only accurate and done properly and correctly, but also fully optimized and that you're getting as much out of the system as possible. And that's what they're getting, really, as you can appreciate, right? They're hitting the ground running, immediately collecting the low-hanging fruit that most people just don't even know is available to them until I just hand it to them on a plate. And they are just eliminating the guesswork and costly mistakes and uncertainty and the fear and the delays that most people inevitably face when they try to do this stuff alone. So you need to make a note here, okay? To get a rough idea of your FI number, so your financial independence number, what you're going to do is you're going to multiply your monthly expenses by 12 to get your yearly expenses, and then you're going to multiply that number by 25 to get your FI number, just like you see with the example there on the slide. Now, that's a rough estimate of the amount of money you need saved or invested across all of your accounts and portfolio to never have to work again, okay? Because the drawdown you take from it covers your expenses and will continue to grow on top of that with exposure to the right passive investments, if you know how to find and choose them, at a rate that is higher than that which you are making withdrawals to ensure that you never run out. This principle is known as the 4% rule, or the SWR, which is the safe withdrawal rate, which was determined from the Trinity studies conducted by Harvard. Okay, so this is real stuff. This is a real principle, an overarching principle that works. And what I've done is I've built a system around that, which takes into consideration all of the pieces of your financial puzzle to make sure that you can apply it to you. Now, again, the Academy videos would walk you through my proprietary process to make sure the figure you get is accurate. Then I'd show you how to iterate on this calculation as your circumstances change, because they will, so that it stays accurate. That's really, really important, because that allows you to just make small adjustments year by year. I'm talking 20, 30 minutes at a time, right? Once a year, rather than not looking at this at all for 5 years and then realizing you've got to start from scratch because it no longer makes sense. And you also can't remember how to do it because it's been 5 years. That's what I help you avoid. The videos also walk you through how to run withdrawal illustrations and a risk assessment to see how long it would last in different market conditions using my proprietary retirement forecasting and planning tools as well. Now, the outcome from phase one after doing this is it's just bucket loads of clarity. As you could hear from the guys that you heard from a minute ago, it's just, oh yeah, I know when I can retire now. I also feel like I can actually do better. I've got clarity. I know my current circumstances and I know what I need to do that's going to move the needle. It shows you exactly where you stand right now financially and gives you crystal clear goals that you are 110% committed to achieving. So that's phase one. Phase two is the push phase. This is where we organize your financial life and put you back in control. You're going to learn how to implement a zero-based money management system that gives you complete visibility and control of your finances with just literally about 20 to 30 minutes of your time per month, that helps you build wealth on autopilot, because once it's set up, it is just rinse and repeat every single month. You're also going to set up the automated tracking of your assets, liabilities, and net worth, and begin executing on your short and medium-term goals as well. In parallel to that, you're going to build out the investment plan and strategy that you will implement to achieve your retirement goals, or your FI number specifically. And I've got more on this later, so don't panic. You can see there, before I move on to anything else, that at the bottom of the slide, that this phase is where we are going to set up and tackle your pillars of personal finance, which is really, really important for me to cover. You see, most people would leave this out because they kind of don't want you to know this part, because it means they can, get you later. But every good financial roadmap needs to cover all three of these pillars. Otherwise, it will fall apart sooner or later. Okay, so I wanted to cover this for you, and hopefully you can appreciate me spending some time on this. Those three pillars sound really obvious, right? They are tracking your money, saving your money, and investing your money. And you might be thinking, well, duh, that's not hard. But there's levels to this game, and you need to be aware of this. Everything I ever teach you about money will come back to one of these three pillars, which is why it was so important for me to cover this. Pillar number one is all about tracking your income versus your outgoings, which is taken care of in this monthly balance sheet. Okay. There is no point in tracking your expenses and not having a plan that you're tracking that against. And there is no point in setting a plan and not tracking your spending against it. You need to have both, right? You put in your planned expenses and your income and track your actual spend against that plan to make sure you stay on track. Like I said, people are always doing one or the other, and they are never doing both. And therefore they're not getting feedback on the plan that they've built, or they're just getting feedback with no plan, which then they can't do anything with. It's just a complete waste of time. You need both. And once you do, it's going to unlock an awful lot of information for you to be able to improve on every single month. This takes a maximum of 30 minutes per month, just when you're first setting out. After that, it's like 15 to 20 minutes. But with that small time invested, it gives you complete and utter awareness and control of what's going on with your money, which is really important when you consider that not having that control and visibility is the literal root cause of why anyone ends up with financial problems and difficulty, and why anyone ends up with debt, because they don't understand the impact of the decisions they are making. Okay, so really, really key. This is like one of the most important elements of all of this. You're also going to track your savings and investments here, any home equity and assets you have here, your debts in this tab, and all of that information then feeds into this final tab, which automatically calculates your net worth for you. And this, again, is another really important element. This is powerful because it's like having a monthly report on the health status of your finances, which is something you are missing out on if you don't already have it. Because as I see it, what it does is it helps you see the long-term impact of your short-term financial decisions. And what that does is it encourages you to consistently make decisions that will push this number up rather than down, which is only going to make you wealthier, which means you're going to achieve financial freedom sooner. And this is what you want, right? But no one is doing this. Now, I want to emphasize here that the simple act of tracking your monthly spending alone in just that first tab that I showed you will do wonders for your financial habits, because it will make you more aware of how you spend your money. And by doing this, you'll be able to immediately pinpoint bad spending habits and eliminate them. After all, you can't change a bad habit if you don't know you have one. The second pillar is saving money. Now, saving money is a term I use lightly because you cannot save your way to wealth with either of these things, but they are quite important still. So there's two ways to interpret saving money as well. The first way to interpret it is saving money on your outgoings, right? So reducing your outgoings by cutting down on your expenses, right? Saving money on your bills and things. And then there's the actual act of saving spare money in a savings account instead of investing it. So starting with that first one, so cutting expenses. Although you definitely cannot save your way to wealth, right? Because it's a zero-sum game. You can only cut your expenses so much before all you are left with is your roof over your head and your essential bills and a very, very miserable life, which is why I say it's not worth living on, rice and beans for any financial goal, in my opinion. However, it is still worth reviewing your expenses and where your money has been going if you've never done it before, because there is definitely going to be some waste and some lack of optimization. And we can often free up hundreds, if not thousands, almost every single month for a lot of people, but always hundreds. Okay. And the thing is, it's because most people do have poor habits. And if we cut them, not only do they not suffer from it, they actually benefit from it. Because then this money that they're like, oh, why can I never do this with my family or have this with my kids or go out for dinner with my wife or my partner, whatever it is, right? Well, we identify these things and suddenly they do have money for those things and some money to save and invest for their future. And they're like, why didn't I do this sooner? So that's the first part of this. The second part is then the actual act of saving money in a savings account, which too many people are doing, in my opinion. And it sounds like a really ridiculous thing to say, doesn't it? But the reason I say that is because once you know what you're doing, there are very few justifications for using a savings account versus investing responsibly for the long term. Very clear distinction there. Not just investing, but investing responsibly for the long term is always going to beat savings. Historically, it always has in 100% of cases, despite what you might think. A couple of examples of why you would use savings instead of investments would be an emergency fund, down payment deposit for a house, basically any savings you want in the next kind of 3 to 5 years, right? In those examples, you want liquid, accessible cash, and you just need to make sure you make use of the best high yield savings accounts or HYSAs you can find to keep inflation at bay. Otherwise, your money is devaluing at right now about 3 to 4% per year. Over the last 5-6 years, it's been the cumulative nearly 30% it would have devalued by. So unless you've been earning a good kind of 8-9% interest on your savings, it's worth less than it was 6 years ago. And it's wild to me how many people come to me for help and we see that they've got sometimes thousands, tens of thousands, sometimes if they've had inheritance or something, 100K plus that is sat there earning 0.51%. And we can immediately, without even investing it, get that earning 6-7% interest sometimes, right? Because we've got an ear to the ground, we know what accounts you can use, we know what providers are offering the best rates on the market, and always have that ear to the ground with it. So even that alone just makes hundreds of pounds worth of difference. And that, again, these are all just individual elements. When we're talking hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and you add it all up, you can see why people that are doing this whole system are able to retire so much earlier. Then we have pillar number 3. So pillar number 2 is saving money. Okay. Now, pillar number 3 is investing. This is the sexy part, the bit that everyone wants to jump ahead to and then ends up falling on their face. Investing, goes without saying, when it's done right, is the most powerful part of all of this. However, do not contemplate putting even a penny into the stock market or any other asset for that matter until you have a solid grip on your monthly finances with a good money management system in place, debt freedom, and an emergency fund. So I alluded to all these things you needed to do when I was going through phase 1. And I kind of said, you need to make sure you're doing them in the right order, otherwise you're going to mess it up, kind of giving away the gold here. So please do pay attention. First of all, before you invest, you need a money management system so that you know how much you are actually able to invest and have maximized that figure every single month as much as possible. There is no point in just plucking a number out of thin air and saying, I'm just going to invest £250 a month or 500 a month or 100 a month, whatever it is. Okay, then what? What goal are you working towards? What end amount do you need, and in what time frame? And is that enough to get to that point at that time frame? How do you know if you're on track or off track? And what if you can't actually afford to invest that much that month? Or what if you could actually do more? You see how unoptimal that is, right? So you need a money management system so that you know that it is optimized. You also need debt freedom, number 2, because there is no point, there's 0 point in investing for a potential 8-9% yearly ROI, investing for the long term, when you are paying 29% or 39% interest on your credit card debt. That math is not mathing. You need to get your credit card and short-term debt gone first, high interest debt especially. And finally, you need an emergency fund before you start investing so that you are never put in a position where you need to sell off a part or potentially even all of your portfolio to cover an unexpected emergency. Because doing so always tends to happen when the market is down, you're selling at a loss, and it completely puts your compounding in reverse and just throws you off course from achieving any of your goals. And then it's really hard to get started again. So don't start investing until you've got an emergency fund and those other two elements in place as well. Anyone who tells you otherwise does not have your best interests at heart. Anyone who tells you to start investing before doing these three things is telling you to do so because it will benefit them more than it will benefit you in that instance, okay? Once you have these pillars in place, then you can determine your investing strategy, and that is going to depend on your goals, your risk tolerance, and your time horizon. And this is why every single individual that I work with one-on-one gets an investment plan and strategy built and tailored to them and their circumstances, along, this is really important, along with the education they need to give them the confidence they need to implement that plan and strategy. Because there is no one size fits all when it comes to investing. And again, anyone who tells you otherwise is lying to you. So you need to know how to build a portfolio and select a buying strategy that's suitable for you. And if you are unsure on how to do that, I'll equip you with the opportunity, or give you the opportunity to equip yourself with that knowledge later with your gift, okay? For now, I want you to ask yourself, do you have money sitting in an account right now, not invested, maybe doing nothing, earning naffle because you don't know how to invest it in line with the goals that you have? Or maybe because you're scared that you'll do the wrong thing with it, all right, and it's sending you further behind than you already are, yeah? Or maybe you've got money right now that you don't need that could be put to better use. Do you have investments that aren't working as hard as you'd like, but you're unsure of the best alternatives that are low maintenance and also won't keep you up at night, right? Yes, Chris, appreciate it. And this is an important one as well, right? Because it's all good and well, you buying that stock or that crypto that your mate at the pub told you to buy, but if that's keeping you up at night in cold sweats because you're not sure what's going on with it, it's not a strategy that's going to work for you. You're not going to be able to stick with it. And how do you know what you're working towards, right? And yeah, I see people already answering these in the chat, but answer this one for me. Do you think you'd waste less money each month if you had a solid investment plan tied to a specific goal, which gave you clarity over how much you needed to invest at the start of each month? Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Definitely. Yes, sure. 100%. Exactly. And it sounds really, really obvious, right? But this is the epiphany moment of like when people come to me and then they say, oh, I don't think I'm going to have that much to invest. And suddenly I can show them the power of what would happen if they did do some amount consistently that's achievable for them based on their circumstances. It's amazing how many of those people come to me 6 months later and are investing maybe double or more what they were when they said, oh, I don't really have that much, because they've recognized their potential now. They can see it growing in front of their eyes, and they know if they do more earlier, then they're going to get to that end goal even sooner. And suddenly they're just way more optimized with their finances. Ultimately, though, if you answered yes to any of those questions, then you are falling behind, because that money you are not investing is money that we could be using to buy back your time in the future. Okay, the bottom line is if you don't have a plan, if you have no plan, or even just kind of a plan, all right, I can see some people saying I'm just holding Ethereum or XRP or whatever it is, right? That's not a plan. You're just waiting for what? Till when? No one's got a timeline to give you. That's not a nice way to live your life, in my opinion. If you want to, fair enough. But if you have no plan or even just kind of a plan like that, and you're not investing optimally with a defined goal and a defined strategy to achieve that defined goal, then your money is just sat there, not working in the way that you want it to be. It's devaluing if it's not already invested at an alarming rate, and your freedom is just slipping further and further away, along with your peace of mind. So just think about that for a second and take the appropriate action, okay? So those are the pillars covered. The outcome, once we have covered those pillars in this phase, for phase 2, is visibility and control. It just gives you an understanding of how you are going to turn your situation around and achieve the goals that you have, as well as exactly how long it's going to take to achieve those goals, which is a really nice feeling. And I'll come back to that a bit later. Now, phase 3 after that is where we take all of these wins and we scale. right? We know what we're doing now. We just need to scale the outcome that we're going to get and the results that we're getting along the way. In phase 3, we are going to eliminate all of your debt, if that's applicable for you, first and foremost. If it's not, we jump straight ahead to emergency fund. If it is, we do the debt first, then the emergency fund, like I talked about a minute ago. Now, debts are where we get some really, really incredible results. As you heard earlier, £23,000 in interest on average is what our students are avoiding having to pay, and therefore becoming debt-free 10 years faster on average than they otherwise would have. A lot of people just don't even realize it, because it just becomes a way of life, like they're just servicing debts now, and it's just how life is. And then once we get it gone, suddenly they've got hundreds or £1,000 or plus, right, available to invest for their future. And suddenly the money they're working for is now working for them rather than lying in the pockets of the banks and the credit card companies. It's a game changer. Building an emergency fund is key. A lot of the time people come to us, they already have some kind of savings, but it's not really been given a specific goal or a job to do, or it's kind of fragmented and spread around and not optimized, and it's not earning much interest either. So what we want to do is look at what you've got, give everything a specific job to do, determine if there's a gap between what you need and what you have, and build a plan to bridge that gap. And if you've got more than you need, again, build a plan to put that surplus to work so that it's working as hard as possible for you by just applying some logic and financial best practices, and then my expertise to help you kind of risk assess your circumstances to understand how much you would actually need in an emergency fund and move forward from there. So there's a lot that can be done. We're also going to automate all of your payments, contributions, and finance tracking processes, including setting up a bank account structure that's I call kind of account hygiene. Really, really important. Automates a lot of the process, removes the guesswork, and avoids you ever falling into any kind of financial difficulty or missing any kind of random payments, right? We're also going to begin executing on your investment plan and strategy for early retirement and financial freedom in this phase, which is the fun part that we talked about. Now, the outcome for this phase, as you heard from Jade earlier, this is where she was at, is empowerment, right? Recognizing your wealth potential and understanding exactly what it is you have to do and the timeline that it's going to take to get there. It really is a game changer. Then we get into phase 4, which is the momentum phase. Now, as its name suggests, this is where we take the momentum from the previous phases and we just keep it going, right? The hard work by this point is like 99% done, right? It's front heavy. There's a bit of work to do in the first instance, and it's the bits that most people don't want to do, which is why they never get to where they want to be, right? It's why most people are struggling financially. But once that's done, and you'll get at this point, it's just momentum carrying it forward. Hard work is 99% done. It is literally just a case of now just watching your fortune build. You will have zero debt by this point, apart from your mortgage if you have one. You will have been executing on your investment strategy and scaling your contributions and returns, and your savings rate by this point should be topping around 40%. Now, when I was getting started, if someone had said to me, you're one day going to be saving 40% of your income towards your financial goals, I'd have been like, yeah, all right, mate, see you later. But 9 years later, for the last 3 months, our savings rate has topped 60%. If someone had said that to me, I wouldn't have believed them. But this is after 9 years of action. So when I was getting started, my savings rate was 2%, right? So just bear that in mind. It takes time and consistency, but if you follow through, you get staggering results. And I'm literally living proof, and everyone else in my program also is, right? The outcome from this is, as I'm experiencing, is unstoppable momentum. Financial freedom at this point is now an inevitability, and you are on the cusp of complete time, location, and financial freedom. It's no longer a case of if you will become financially free. It's when and how much earlier can you make it by tweaking this lever and this lever, right? That's what you're at this point. Then we hit the ultimate phase, which is the freedom phase. Again, you'll be completely debt-free, often including your home. Not always. Sometimes it doesn't make financial sense, and we review that. So, we review those circumstances with each individual, depending on their circumstances, to determine if that makes sense, right? Because there's a lot of different variables to take into account, which I do for you. Now, so it might include your home, it might not. You'll be financially free by this point, and no longer dependent on anyone or any employer, because your passive income that we've now generated and built up will take care of all of your financial obligations, wants, and needs, right, that we would have mapped out. And because at this point, you're normally, or in most cases, you are normally mortgage-free, not always, like I said, but you're normally mortgage-free with a high 6 to 7 figure portfolio, you'll have a net worth of £1 to £3 million plus. That's like the average range of what we see people, forecast to achieve within the time frame of, the roadmap that we've built out for them. And again, if someone had said to me at the start of my journey, from my beginnings and where I was at that point, that one day I'd be on track to be a millionaire, or that I would be a millionaire, I'd have been like, yeah, all right, thanks, see you later, mate. But like I said, I'm 2 years off hitting millionaire status. I might even actually get there a little bit quicker. So and I'm 9 years in. So it goes to show what is possible. Now, the outcome from this phase is FU money. You've never heard the term before. It's the freedom to do what you want, when you want, for as long as you want, without ever having to ask for permission. It's a pretty nice feeling. FU, I'm pretty sure you're getting the point there. Turns out that that secret formula that you've been looking for becoming wealthier, right, is incredibly simple. It's a tailored plan plus consistency multiplied by patience. If you consistently save, track, and invest your money against a tailored plan built around this system and have patience for 5, 10 plus years, depending on your time horizon, it's impossible that you fail to hit your financial goals. People only fail when they start to save and invest without having their pillars or a solid, structured financial roadmap in place. And as a result, they don't have clear goals and milestones that keep them on track. And without the direction and clarity and conviction that comes with those goals and those milestones, well, they don't know what they're doing. They're flying by the seat of their pants, and they take money out of their savings and investments, they sell out of their investments to do something stupid, and they kill their progress. Okay. And that's the worst thing you can do. So just don't be that person. Follow the process, stick to it every month, and one day you'll check your portfolio only to realize that you've hit your FIRE number and never have to work again. You can hand in your notice and live freely. That's the end point of this process for everyone who follows it all the way through. Now, I know some of you will be sat there thinking, okay, but does this really work, right? Even though you've seen me and other people literally using it and making it work. Mainly people are asking, will it work for me though, because I'm XYZ and I do XYZ for a job, whatever it is. And another question is, do I have enough money to do these things? So three main questions. Does it really work? Will it work for me? And do I have enough money to achieve these things? The answer to all of those things is yes. Everyone can improve their finances and future prospects with this process. And I know this because I've seen all 315 people who've applied it do exactly that. It really is that simple. The average student right now, just to run some numbers and show you the potential here, the average student right now is able to save and invest £1,700 per month, about $2,100 if you're in the US. Worst case, after 12 months of action and implementing the full system, is they've got £1,000 a month more going into their savings and investments than they did at the start of the process. Okay, so let's say, just to run some numbers, that you are starting with just 10K in your investments and pension accounts, right? For a lot of people, that's worst case. A lot of people who've been paying into a workplace pension for a long time have got a lot more than that, but not everyone will. Maybe you're self-employed and you're not paid into one, and that's fine as well. We've worked with people across that range from nothing to a lot. But let's assume you're at the very, very low end of what we see, and you've just got 10K across your pensions and all your investment accounts, and that you were able to achieve the low end of what we see, which is £1,000 a month more going into those things after working with me for 12 months, right? Now, after 15 years of implementing the system, that extra grand a month would have compounded to be worth £473,000, right? It's not bad. I just made you nearly £500,000 richer than you otherwise would have been. But if you leave your money there for another 10 years, you'll have amassed over 1.4 million. Okay, you're starting to see the power of compounding here and why it's better to get started sooner rather than later, because the clock really is ticking when it comes to compound interest. Okay, and feel free to verify these calculations. Go to a compound interest calculator, put in the same numbers, and you will see the same things. This is not an opinion, this is math, and this is just how it works. And if you get a system that gives you these amounts to put towards the right investments, and you know how to utilize those investments in the right accounts and tax efficiencies, this is what's possible for you. Okay, because after 30 years, your 1K a month extra will be worth a whopping 2.4 million if you have that time horizon ahead of you. So just to recap, you could save an extra grand plus more per month towards your savings and investments as part of this process, and invest that money using a simple set and forget strategy that I'll teach you, and accrue potentially up to £2.4 million more than you otherwise would have had. But what if you already have money invested with a platform, and maybe you've already got an advisor managing it for you. Let's run through those numbers as well. Assuming that that advisor gets the same rate of return as the funds that we use, and you can Google this, statistically, 70%, nearly 3/4 of them fail to match the performance of the funds that we use. But assuming that they can match it, just to compare apples to apples, if you're paying a combined 1.5% management fee across platform charges, management fees, and fund charges, and normally the average is actually more like 1.8 to 2%, but we're being friendly here. If you're paying 1.5%, using the same numbers that we've just used in this illustration, if you're using that advisor and you're paying that charge, you will end up with £562,000 less in your pocket by continuing to make that mistake. It really is that straightforward, right? Use this system instead and don't pay the 1.5% fee. And based on this illustration and these numbers, you'll potentially have £562,000 more in your pocket in retirement. It's just a no-brainer in my opinion. But do you want to know the crazy part? The crazy part is that for most of you, these numbers, again, depending on your time horizon, they will shift, right? But for most of you, these are worst case numbers. This is a worst case scenario. Firstly, because most people are starting with, like I said, a lot more than 10K to begin with across their pensions and investment accounts and savings. And they are already making regular payments into a pension or some kind of investment account. Not everyone, and that's fine if you're not. It's still not too late and you're not beyond help, right? But secondly, when you follow this system, we don't just look at your investments like a traditional FA would just to get assets under management to charge a fee on, right? We ensure that your finances are optimized from the ground up, meaning that your expenses, once we get to a foundational level that covers your needs and happiness and fulfillment, right? Once we get to that point and your expenses remain the same as your income increases and you work on ways of increasing that take-home pay, as that happens, your cash flow increases consistently, right? Your contributions to your workplace pension increase. You gain additional tax relief via the account structuring optimizations that I teach you, which means more money flowing into your accounts at no extra cost to you once you know how to do this. Your monthly free cash flow that can be put towards your personal investments also grows. And before you know it, you're contributing way more than you thought you could. So you'll likely achieve way more than this as a result. But I had to use some kind of numbers and I wanted to go conservative. That will only happen though if you have the right plan built for you and if you start today, right? As it's my job to do so, right? I've made it my job to make sure that all of my one-on-one students are in a position to take full advantage of this compounding effect ASAP, and that they have a fully optimized plan with as much free cash flow as possible to pump into this money multiplying phenomenon, because that's what it is. Because the earlier you start and the more you have, the more your money will grow and the faster it will grow over the long term. In fact, I want to tell you, because like I said, one of the most commonly asked questions I get is, oh, but I'm 48 or 55 or 60, whatever it is, right? It doesn't matter how old you are, but one of the most common questions you get is, I'm getting started at this age, is it too late for me? I want to tell you about one of my students who thought he was getting started too late at the age of 49. So again, maybe not as old as you might be, or maybe you're even a bit older, but take this and use it as as a marking point in the sand. He thought he was getting started at too late, but then started using my strategies. He was 49. Neil was able to save £110,000 in interest on his debts, right? He had a rental and also some credit cards. We got rid of all of that. Saved 110 grand in interest on his debts and was still able to retire 9 years earlier than he thought he was going to, despite starting at 49 with a bunch of debt. And here's what he had to say about it.
I mean, I think what I would say is, having come into this at 49 without a plan to get to 60, which is my retirement age in my head, it's helped me with that. I mean, if I was coming into this plan, a bit into the academy, as a younger man or woman, I think it's incredibly powerful. I mean, I think I'd probably be retired already if I came, if I came into this when I was 29. I think I'd already have a plan to retire at my age now, right? So, yeah. But even having come to it late, I suppose the point I'd make, even having come to it quite late in the party, is that I can still see an enormous benefit, and it's 100% worth the investment. And I think your style, Joe, is very friendly, and there's no such thing as a stupid question. We all are quite open with each other. We've all made mistakes, and financially or otherwise in the past, and it's quite an open forum. We talk openly, and I think it's very, very helpful. I think anyone would be doing themselves a big favor to join. Honestly, I think it's very powerful.
So if this incredibly powerful and simple process, as Neil put it, is all it takes, which is what I'm saying, then why isn't everyone doing this and able to retire early? Well, the answer to that is, again, it's really simple. It's because you simply haven't been given all of this information and the knowledge and the education on the stuff that actually matters, along with a proven structured system that actually works and the tools to use that work with that system as you work through it, all in one place, right? Until now. And once that's in place, you'll have clarity over your finances and the steps you need to take. And that clarity and process gives you the confidence you need to make good, informed financial and investment decisions, because you'll know that they are going to drive you closer to your specific, clearly defined end goal. And this is what allows you to begin looking forward on your future with certainty and clarity and excitement, rather than uncertainty and fear and dread, which is what most people feel when they look forward or try to. The bottom line is, until you follow a structured system like this, you're not going to make the progress you want to see, because you have lives, families, and hobbies to be getting on with. You don't have the time to figure this all out for yourselves. Otherwise, you would have done it by now, right? So just follow this strategy, stay disciplined, and don't do anything stupid. That's what Reese did. Don't worry, it's not another video. I'm going to walk you through this one. Reese found me at 28, okay? He earned good. The reason I'm not showing the video is because it's 28 minutes long, but you can't watch it on my YouTube. Really, really good conversation. He earned really good money when he found me, but him and his wife found themselves living paycheck to paycheck, stressed about money, and in tens of thousands of pounds worth of debt. They were also, him and his partner, living with his dad, with their 3 boys, right, for what they thought was going to be 3 years before they'd be able to afford to buy their own house. And best case, they thought that they were going to be able to retire at 68 if they were lucky. After just 8 weeks of working through this system, using the tools and with my help, they are now $2,500 a month better off. They're no longer stressed about opening their online banking app. They've paid off 90% of the debt they had, and they saved $4,000 in interest that they would otherwise have paid as a result of just moving some money around that they just hadn't ever considered before until they had me looking at it for them. But one of the biggest wins is that by doing all of this and having me optimize their finances and the plan that we've now put in place, it's now only going to take them 10 months to be able to afford to buy their first house together, not 3 years. So from going from living with his partner and his 3 kids at his dad's house for what he thought was going to be 3 years, to knowing he can now afford to buy that house for his family in less than 10 months, can you imagine the relief that him and his dad are probably feeling? And also, he's cut 21 years off of his retirement age. The reason that most don't achieve results like this is because they put it off and they let life happen to them, rather than jumping on an opportunity like this, taking control and making the life they want to have happen. That is the only difference. So I've got 2 scenarios here to demonstrate the cost of putting it off, to demonstrate the cost of delaying, okay? We've got Jean on the left and Joanna on the right. They're the exact same age. They're both 30. Both of them want to be able to retire by the age of 60 with 40 grand a year in income, which will require a £1 million portfolio using the 4% rule and the safe withdrawal rate. Both of them have £550 a month that they can invest, okay? Jean is great. We love Jean. She starts today because she recognizes her potential, and she ends up with £1,050,000 in retirement at 60, giving her an annual income of £42,000 a year, which is £2,000 more a year for more travel, leisure, and the things she likes doing. That's a bonus, right? A nice position to be in. Joanna, on the other hand, puts it off because now's not a great time. She starts 12 months later as a result because she thinks it's going to be a couple of weeks. Weeks turn to months, months turn to a year, and she thinks, oh crap, I need to get started now. A year later, she gets started, and because of that 1 year delay, she ends up with £93,000 less than Jean, who started 12 months before. And as a result, she has £4,000 a year less in income in retirement. Unfortunately, that doesn't meet her income requirements and means she then needs to cut back on £4,000 worth of travel and fun and leisure that she wanted to be able to do just so she can pay her bills, right? Waiting for the right time is going to leave you worse off. That's not an opinion. Again, that's how the maths of compounding works, by literally tens, if not hundreds of thousands of pounds. Because the more, if you need more than $1 million, which most people do at this point in time and in the day and age we live in, and the less time you have than the 30 years projected here, the bigger that gap grows. And this is the thing, right? The gap doesn't grow by the same amount each year that you wait. It grows exponentially with compounding. And this slide here is a good indication of that. Take them with a grain of salt, because these numbers assume that you are starting from zero, which most people aren't. But it's a good illustration of how much it costs to wait, delay, or even just the cost of figuring it out for yourself, which is obviously always going to take longer than having someone who's done it for you, done it already, do it for you. But you get the idea. So tell me, are you really too busy to save yourself 93 grand, like the previous example we saw with Gene and Joanna, right? Probably not. How about 250 grand, which is the extra you would need to contribute out of your own pocket to catch up to where you would need to be if you got started in your 50s and 60s rather than your 30s and 40s, okay? It is not worth the cost of the delay. No one is too busy to save themselves that much, in my opinion, and waiting for the right time is just not an excuse that your future self is going to be happy with when you are the one that is stuck working into your 60s and 70s, okay? So here is what we've covered so far. You know that your problems can be fixed and your goals and desires achieved with the system. You've heard from the people who have done it, including myself. You've seen the system laid out for you in detail with the outcomes that you can expect to achieve once you complete each phase of this system. You know the power of compound interest right now and the importance of getting a custom investment plan and strategy in place for you sooner rather than later. And you've seen what it's going to cost you if you wait, right? Essentially, again, it's just the maths. It's not an opinion. With every month you wait amounting to tens of thousands extra that you will either be short of in retirement or have to contribute extra out of your own pocket just to catch up to where you could have been if you'd just taken the initiative. Okay, so here's some of the questions that we get normally around this time. So first question, will this work for me? We covered this, but as you've seen, I've worked with people across all demographics, all ages, income ranges, starting points, debt, no debt, so on and so forth. Every single one of them are now better off. I've also worked with people, all around the world as well, the UK, Ireland, Europe, Canada, the US as well. No matter where they were, what their circumstances were, all of them are now on the way to achieving the goals they had and know exactly what they need to do to get there. Okay, so it's a really nice position to be in. The second question or comment we get is often from people who have either not invested before, don't truly understand compounding. And that comment is, I'm afraid I'm going to lose money. And I totally understand that. I'm not going to brush this one under the carpet by any stretch of the imagination, because getting started with investing, if you've never done it, is something that feels daunting. But this is why I am so keen and passionate about not just giving you a plan and a bunch of steps and expecting you to blindly follow them, but actually providing you with the education that you need on all of the processes and the strategies around investing and the things we'll be implementing for you, so that you have the confidence you need to actually enact the steps that I give you. And that is the difference between me and what I do and other people out there. Ultimately, when it comes to investing, I'm never going to lie to anyone, your investments over time will go down as well as up. It's how investment works. Volatility is an inherent necessary part of investing, okay? But we teach you, we've got an entire module on volatility and how to tolerate, manage, and leverage it, okay? What we know is, despite market volatility, the market has averaged a 10.9% annualized average return over the past 80 years. And we use a 9% estimate to be safe, and then also factor in inflation in two other places on your plan, so that you end up with a roadmap and a forecast that is actually likely to be achieved even sooner than we've mapped out. I'd much rather under-promise and over-deliver than over-promise and under-deliver, right? Another thing I also hear too often is, now's not a great time, for whatever reason. Look, you know how much it's going to cost you to wait. The bottom line is, the people who dive in immediately unlock their financial potential very quickly and have a custom roadmap in place, normally in 30 to 60 days. Those who don't, they slip back into their day-to-day routine, and before you know it, another 2 years have gone by, right? We all know that. We know how it feels, right? And if you're 2 years behind where you could have been, you're now literally hundreds of thousands of pounds behind where you could have been had you just got started back then. That's really what it comes down to. And finally, something we hear again from the people who don't understand compounding until they've seen this, or who've never invested before, is those numbers sound too good to be true. Now, it's good to be skeptical. Okay, I encourage you to be so. But actually, this system doesn't sound too good to be true when you really break it down and look at what's involved, because it is not a get-rich-quick scheme. And we are using government-approved, regulated methods of investing and building wealth over the long term that are proven. Okay, it takes time, it takes patience, and it takes consistency. And if you don't put in the work, you will not get results. I will make that very clear. You need to do the work, otherwise it will not happen. If I was stood here promising to make you a millionaire tomorrow, even in the next 5 years, or I was saying all you've got to do is click some buttons on a screen, set these price targets, blah, 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 go out for a nice lunch, come back and you'll have made 10K. That is a lie. That is not what this is. This is a proven system of building wealth over the long term with government regulated, approved methods of building wealth. Okay, so hopefully that's helped to switch your mindset and you can see the difference there. And if you don't believe that, just watch the videos of all the people I've interviewed who have used the system on my YouTube or on my Instagram, and you'll hear from them other than myself. And you've heard from them tonight as well. Now that you have all of this information, you have two options, just like I did at the start of my journey, right? Option one, you can take what you've learned today, you're a step ahead of where I was, and attempt to build a comprehensive financial plan and roadmap for your future around everything going on in your life with the existing commitments that you have. Okay. If you do, I want to be really, really clear about what it is you need to do so that you know exactly, so you've got any chance of actually making that happen. You will need that plan and that roadmap to address your month-to-month finances. You'll need a proactive money management and tracking system, which feeds you the info you need on monthly free cash flow, savings and investment growth, debt progress and net worth impact, a debt elimination planner if applicable to you, sinking fund and account structuring setup for level loading your yearly finances, accurate fine number calculation and iteration schedule, and a tax efficient investment plan, ISA bridging strategy if necessary, and life insurance strategy built around that fine number. And you'll need to link all of that to your current circumstances. And I'm saying that because if you're not tying all of the pieces of your financial puzzle together with this system and this plan, then not only will it eventually leave you just feeling lost and confused sooner or later, but you're also going to end up missing out on a ton of easy wins and optimizations, which mean you miss out on getting literally tens, if not hundreds of thousands more in your investment accounts at no extra cost to you with little effort if you know how to do it. And that will just delay your progress, right? Obviously, even further. So that's option one. Or option two goes without saying, I can help you shortcut the entire process and give you the tools, the knowledge, and a structured system that took me 9 years to develop on day one of your journey, along with ongoing accountability. You'll have a step-by-step plan tailored to your circumstances, covering all of those things I just mentioned in place in the space of 30 to 60 days. No ambiguity, no guesswork, no fear of making huge financial mistakes, just clarity and conviction and confidence in what you need to do step by step. So how do you get my help? That's probably the question you're asking. At this point, it's time to reveal that gift that I've been harping on at you about, okay? I've intentionally reserved it until this point of the presentation so that only those who are actually committed to achieving their financial goals, who have stayed until this point, get the opportunity that you are about to receive. And because you've watched this far, I think it's fair and safe to assume that you are not, or that you're the kind of people who are not all talk and are actually ready to do what it takes. So for the record, this is exclusively for you because you joined the event this evening. You won't see me promoting this anywhere else. I never have, and I never will. In fact, you'll see why in a second. This is exclusively for you. I'm giving you the opportunity to get access to the video course element of the Financial Freedom Academy. Now, this is normally sold as an add-on for my one-on-one students for £1,080, but I'm offering it to you today to help you with everything I've laid out for you during this event. And that's not all. I'm giving you £600 off and lifetime access to the 34 videos and 4 tools that will walk you through exactly what you need to do step by step to secure your finances and set yourself up for a more comfortable and earlier retirement. I've just dropped the link in the chat for you to take advantage of that. As you can see on the screen there, we do only have 20 available, and I'm going to explain exactly why that is in a second. because it's something that's really, really important for you to understand. I'm going to drop the link in the WhatsApp group as well, just in case anyone cannot see the chat. That is going into there now. That's there. Beautiful. All right. So that's there. Like I said, we've still got 800, we're just under 800 people on the 2 platforms that we're hosting this on still, and we do only have 20 of these available. So let me just say, with your lifetime access, you get all future updates at no extra cost. And when we make updates, as with any product, the price increases because we've added more value. So if you lock it in today, it's the lowest it will ever be again. Okay, so that's important to know. The reason for this offer, which is the biggest I've ever done, is because I believe that if you are watching this, then you really are serious about achieving similar results you've seen, right, to those you've seen me and my clients achieve. And if that's the case, then this is the information and the knowledge that you will need to achieve those goals. And the reason for there only being 20 copies, really important, again, I think this is important to understand, is because each person who invests and locks in a copy will qualify to book a call with my team where they'll have the opportunity to apply to join the Financial Freedom Academy coaching program. But we only have 20 spots available now because I only take on so many people in a month, and therefore it doesn't make sense to have more of these available than we have of those. It seemed the fairest way to do it. The thing I'm really excited to announce though, and again, this is the thing that was a one-off, we are not doing this again. This bit is really, really truly is a one-off again. I'm really excited to announce that when you do join the Academy after locking in your video course, I'm going to take a huge £2,000 off your enrollment fee for the one-on-one coaching program, where you get 9 months of one-on-one access to me, and where I will build your entire lifetime financial roadmap for you, covering all of those things I mentioned earlier and with you, right? This is an exclusive one-off that I've never done and will not be doing again, hence why we have capped the numbers, right? And to be clear, that $2,000 off is only for those who purchase the video course, because ultimately you're the ones demonstrating commitment to achieving your goals. So you are the people we want to give our time to. And I'm being told that 7 of them have gone already, which is insane. Okay, wow, right. I need to get to some other things. I need to tell you what's in the course, but don't put this off too long. So whilst you're locking in your space, you're going to see an option once you've checked out to book a call with the team. So do that so that that's done as well. And if you don't get your confirmation link, so your video course access, it'll be an email from me saying your name, here's your access to the video course, or here's access to the video course. If you don't see that immediately, check your junk folder because it will be in there. If you don't see it in a junk folder, it's because you've entered your email incorrectly and therefore it's obviously not going to arrive, in which case just email support@financiallysavvy.co, okay? Really, really important. Now, let me tell you what the course involves, and then we will go through Q&A. The video course is as close as you can get to guaranteeing that you'll achieve your goals and become financially free. Now, the absolute guarantee is when you work directly with me, because obviously at that point, I'm responsible for getting your results. Whereas if just the video course, you're responsible for getting you results by turning up and watching it and taking the actions, right? Whereas when you work with me, I take over that responsibility and it's my job. Now, the reason that it is as close as you can get to guaranteeing that you unlock all of your financial potential is because in under 30 days, when you follow this through, this whole video course, you will learn how to identify and fix your self-sabotaging money habits, freeing up thousands of pounds every single year. You will learn how to master and maintain a money management system that enables you to build wealth on autopilot. You will learn how to systematically eliminate any debt you have faster than you ever thought possible, saving thousands of pounds in interest. You will learn how to build a set and forget investment plan and strategy that leads to an earlier, more comfortable retirement. And you will learn how to identify exactly how and also when you will hit each of your financial milestones with the step-by-step walkthroughs provided in the course, provided you use it. That's really important. Now, there is a reason why nobody in the Financial Freedom Academy has ever failed. It's because you get all of the information, all of the knowledge, and all of the tools you need without the fluff. You also get a proven, structured, step-by-step system to follow, along with the tools that are built to work with that specific system as you work through it. And then if you upgrade and join the one-on-one coaching academy, you get someone holding your hand, implementing the whole process for you and with you, right? So it's a game changer. It just completely removes the guesswork the ambiguity and the fear of making mistakes that most people have when they try to do this by themselves. And by doing so, it helps you avoid making those mistakes. Okay, another 8. Okay, so sorry, my team's sending me messages. Another 8. I've been told that apparently the website keeps crashing because of the traffic. So do keep refreshing. You can see that there's payment plan options available on there as well. So if the 480 is initially too much, you can spread the payments. So just be mindful of which one you're selecting. So we've got 5 left. Okay, yeah. So while you're finding your way over to the page and locking in your copy, let me share the bonus. I haven't even shared the bonuses yet. Let me share the bonuses that are exclusively for you on this event. Like I said, we've not done this before, so I'm excited to share this. Hopefully this slide comes up. Yes, it's working. Cool. Okay, I added this in today. So when you get the video course, you are going to get an immediate upgrade to the full Financial Freedom Tracker. Now, this is the creme de la creme. There is nothing above this version, okay? You'll be able to set, track, and achieve all of your financial goals faster and easier than you can imagine with this tool. And lifetime updates are included at no extra cost. This is really important, right? When I first launched this, there was 23 videos and 2 tools. We've now got 34 videos and 4 tools. So we've added a lot, right? And this is why it's so important. We are regularly adding to this. Like every year we make updates. So far we've added updates, in most months. So really, really important. The return though, that you should expect to see from using this tool alone, so the full Financial Freedom Tracker, is £400 a month at minimum. And let me just say, within the full Financial Freedom Tracker, this is one of the 4 tools we have. And in this one tool, there are about 11 or 12 tabs, okay? In just one of them, in just the monthly balance sheet alone, that is where you are going to see the return on your investment of £400 a month. In just one of those 12 tabs, in one of the 4 tools that we have, in one module of the 34 videos that we have, that's a £400 a month return on your investment. So within 1 month, this is almost paid for itself. Within 2 months, it's paid for itself, like nearly twice over. Every year, it's paid for itself 10 times over every year, right? It's £4,800 a year and it's 480 times. Yeah, my maths is right. I had to double check then. The range in terms of the monthly improvement to people's finances is between 400 a month and about $6,500 a month. And that's just based on the range of the households that we work with: dual income, single income, high income, low income, so on and so forth, right? So when you consider the lifetime benefit of just that one tool, like there's one tab in that one tool, right? That's literally tens of thousands of pounds just from that one piece. If you use nothing else, this will pay for itself multiple times over. In fact, it's so important that you do this, right? I'd encourage you to log into the course as soon as your email instructions arrive. Check your junk folder if it hasn't already arrived immediately, like I said, so that you can watch the introduction video and download this tool. That way you can get started immediately and we'll see a return on your investment within the next few days. Get into that, watch the introduction video, watch the first phase tonight or tomorrow at the very, very least, and make sure you watch those 2 videos and download your tool so you understand what it is. You'll understand the process, how the course works, and so on and so forth. And it will help you to determine if you are going, if you need help, essentially, right? Really, really important. That was just one bonus. You're also going to gain immediate access to the debt elimination walkthrough and debt elimination planning and execution tools. This has helped my clients avoid £23,000 in interest on average and become debt-free 10 years faster, as I mentioned earlier. So if you have debt, this piece alone, if you just get the average results, will pay for your investment today 52 times over. Right? I'm saying this to myself and I'm thinking, this is ridiculous. Why did I take another £300 off of the cost of this? But I wanted to do it because this is a big event and I'm excited. And it's Christmas time, right? That season of giving. If you don't have debt, by the way, that's cool. You're going to get this anyway, because obviously this is, publicly available product now as I'm sharing it here. So it needed to be, as much of a cover all as possible. You're going to get this, but you are probably way more interested. Sorry. They're gone. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Do that. Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, cool. Okay. So congrats. It was John, Catherine, and Jane got the last 3, and they're gone. So, sorry, I completely lost my train of thought. So, what we're going to do, basically, we had 20 of these available because we had 10 kept aside for the people who are still coming in via social media and website inquiries. So we kept those. We only take on 30 people in any month. but they're not here and you are. So we're shutting the program publicly for the rest of December, and only you are going to get those 30 spots. So those 10 have been added to the website. I was just waiting for confirmation. Those 10 extra have been added to the website now, so they are there. I can't believe 20 went that fast. So do lock this in if you're interested at all in improving your prospects. Don't let this opportunity pass you up, because this could be the last time. Well, this is the last time. This is the last opportunity you're going to have to join this year. And January prices are going up as well, as with every other business. I'm going to reveal another. So yeah, like I was saying, if you've not got debt, that's fine. You're going to get this anyway, but you're probably way more interested in the next bonus I have. Okay, so let me jump into that. It really threw me off then. So with this video course, you are also going to unlock everything you need to achieve the success you've been looking for with your investments once and for all. You're going to get immediate access to 11 video modules covering everything you need to know how to invest for financial freedom. I'm going to cover that again because I always get a question of, does this cover investing? Yes, you're going to get access to 11 modules covering everything you need to know so that you can invest for financial freedom the right way. Okay, this includes modules on what even is investing, so you understand the concept of what you are actually doing. And there's so many people who come to me like, oh, I already am investing, I don't need that module, and then they watch it and they're like, oh, I really wish I'd known that before I got started. It's a game changer. So what is investing, investment choices and allocations, compounding and the power of now, tax efficient investing, index fund investing versus ETFs, investing mistakes to avoid so you don't become another statistic, the true cost of investment fees, what it takes to pick individual stocks step by step so you know what you actually need to do that, how to build, structure and manage your portfolio going forwards, which is a piece most people aren't doing, how to tolerate, manage and leverage market volatility because it's an inherent necessary part of investing, how to calculate your FI number, the 4% rule and more. And I've just realized that was 12. So 12 modules, right? This, by the way, is on top of step-by-step video walkthroughs on actually calculating your FI within the tool in different ways so that you'll know exactly how much you need to invest per month, what type of accounts to use for tax efficiency, what your allocation percentages should be across the selected asset types you've chosen, and how to forecast your returns accurately over the long term. Like I said, everything you need to know to invest for financial freedom is covered. Then, to help you with the building and ongoing management and balancing of your portfolio, all of which I show you how to do in the course, I'm also giving you access to an additional Excel tool. This is a game changer because with this tool, you can set your target allocations across either like the different funds or the different asset classes you are in. Again, the video guide shows you exactly how to set this up. And you can set your safety margins. So say you've got 3 different funds and you're going to put 25%, 25%, 50%, adding up to 100%, right? You can then input your actual holdings, so how much of each share that you own, and then using some fancy coding and formula that's already built in there, it will keep track of current market prices to let you know if and when you verge outside of your target allocations. Okay, so you can say 25%, 25%, 50%, plus or minus 5% for each one, so allow some day-to-day variance. And when it jumps outside of that, it will highlight orange and it will show you which ones you can then essentially know which ones you need to either stop buying, continue buying, or maybe sell, right? It puts you in a position where you can make an informed, data-driven decision about your investment decisions, which ultimately means you can keep a balanced portfolio. Again, it removes the guesswork, puts optimizations and better returns in place most often, and puts more money in your pocket as a result. And it is mind-blowing again to me how many people come to me and say, oh, I already know how to invest. I've got a portfolio, maybe I don't need your help. And I say, cool, let's talk about that. And then we get to the rebalancing part and they say, what? I'm like, you're not rebalancing. No? Okay, so I thought you were investing. And then they're like, oh. So it's incredible how many people are not doing this and are missing out on the peace of mind and the confidence that comes with actually knowing how to manage a portfolio, right? It's the thing that most people forget to teach themselves. And this is what's covered there. The next bonus is brand new, and it's currently, before tonight, was exclusive for my Academy members only, but you are also going to get access to a safe withdrawal rate risk calculator. I don't want to dwell on this too much because I don't want to bamboozle you, but essentially the video shows you exactly how to use it. Essentially, once you've determined your financial independence number, which again, I show you how to do within the course, and your withdrawal rate, again, I'll show you how to do that. You can plug in your numbers into this calculator and it will show you the percentage likelihood of success of your specific numbers. It back tests this across 65 different 30-year windows between 1922 and 2022 to show you what would have happened to your portfolio over that time if you were taking that amount, and shows you how many times you would have succeeded versus run out of money, right? And then you can obviously adjust the plan accordingly based on the risks you're happy to take. It is incredible. Again, it just gives you peace of mind, more confidence. And when you think about it, right, confidence is ultimately what encourages you to move ahead with a decision, right, and keep plugging away at your goals, which means higher odds of success. And that, again, just means more money in your pocket. Because when you think about it, most people just go into retirement, they leave it too late because they don't want to do it too early and run out, when actually they could have been fine. They leave it too late, and then they're scared to actually spend too much of the money they have in case they run out, because they don't have a plan. They don't have a safe withdrawal rate risk calculator. They don't have a rebalancing tool. They don't have a strategy. You will have that confidence if you do this, and that is the difference. So really, really important. I mean, so we've got half of those extra 10 have gone already. Okay, so let me move quickly because I want to do the Q&A as well. So then, and this one's really, really special, I'm emailing out access to a case study article that I produced for my academy students. The title of this document is "The 3 Money Murdering Mistakes That No Financial Advisor Would Dare Tell You," which is quite a bold headline. Again, check your junk folder because you don't want to miss this module of the course. This article details the 3 mistakes I see people make every single day that is costing them hundreds of thousands of pounds over their lifetime that they don't even realize they are losing out on, which is the brutal reality of it. But the thing is with this guide is it shows you how to avoid making these mistakes, or even stop the damage that's already being done to your wealth if you've already made one or more of these mistakes. So it can be really, really life-changing, this. Now, you can see there, next to each of those bonuses on that slide, I've provided the return you should expect to receive from each one of them. That's just the bonuses, okay? So when we think about this, you're already getting, so it's not 3, so you're now already getting £600 off of a course that will help you retire on average around 18 years earlier. But that's the average, right? And we've worked with some really young people. So let's go really, really worst case. Let's say that I'm only able to help you retire 5 years earlier than you otherwise would have. And that each of those additional years of freedom where money is no longer an issue and you have confidence in your retirement plan, let's say that each of those extra 5 years is worth just £1,000 each to you, right? I mean, if someone was selling me extra years of retirement for £1,000 each, I'd be taking out credit cards and loans up to my eyeballs. But if each year of extra retirement is worth £1,000 to you, and I can only get you 5, that's the real low end of what I've helped people achieve. Well, that's £5,000 worth of value unlocked immediately. And then that's just one element. Then there's the monthly improvement I can help you make to your monthly expenses, which is worth at least £400 a month. That's another £4,800 a year. Okay, so that's nearly 10 grand's worth of value just this year. Then we have the debt modules and tools, which have saved my clients 23 grand in interest in 10 years of their lives that they no longer have to make payments on their debts. That's another 23 grand's worth of value. Then there's the modules and the tools that you need to build your effective, tax efficient, low fee investment plan and strategy using safe, proven, time-tested methods that actually work, right? And unless you have all of that already in place and know how to do that, then that is going to help make you hundreds of thousands of pounds better off than you otherwise would have been by not investing. So that's, again, hundreds of thousands more value. Then there's the fact that the average student is avoiding £468,000 in investment fees alone working with me using this process instead of an advisor charging 1.5% ongoing management fees. I mean, we're literally at like several £100,000 worth of potential over your lifetime to be unlocked as a result of this knowledge that you don't currently have and the tools and system that you don't currently have. And it's only £480. And it sounds insane as I'm saying it out loud. So I suppose what I'm trying to say here is like, please, if you're sat there thinking, can I afford 480 or do I want to spend £480 on this? I would instead think, can I actually afford to carry on without this? Because every month you continue without this knowledge and these tools is costing you a lot more than £480. And I don't know if this sounds, I don't mean this to come across like pushy or anything like that, but I suppose when you're in my shoes and you've seen 300 plus people come through this, sometimes literally crying at the end of it in like happy tears because of how much it's changed their lives and how much peace of mind and security it's given them, and how they've seen the back of their debts that they never thought they'd see the end of, and they're now set to retire years earlier than they otherwise thought they would after watching their parents work into ill health and old age. Like, when they know that they're avoiding that and you've helped them get there, you'd probably be as passionate about this as I am, I think. So I just want to check, can I get a confirmation on how many? 4. Okay, so we've got 4 remaining, and I've got another bonus actually. One more, just one more. All right, this is something really, really special that I'm really happy to be able to do, especially this time of year. So with access to the video course, so this isn't part of the video course, this is an optional thing that we are offering. You're also going to get an exclusive opportunity to apply for my one-on-one private mentorship inside the Full Financial Freedom Academy. Now, I've touched on this here and there, but the Academy is where I will personally guide a select number of individuals each month to accelerate their journey to financial freedom. But I need you to understand why this bonus in particular is so important, because, I mean, as of right now, let's face it, right, the doors to the Academy are now shut. They are closed. We are intentionally now holding off on taking anyone else on so that you on this call get priority consideration to join. Like I said, I want to reward the action takers, and you are the ones who have actually shown up tonight and shown intent. So I think that's really important. But on top of that, I'm offering anyone who does move on to the one-on-one coaching program £2,000 off your enrollment fee. Okay, that's the biggest money off offer I've ever run. So with this plus the video course gift price, that's £2,600 less than anyone else is currently paying. So once you purchase the video course, you'll be invited to book a 45-minute call with one of my senior team members. During that call, we'll just ask some questions, get to dive deeper onto your circumstances and understand a bit more about you, assess if you're a good fit for the Academy, and if we can actually deliver the level of results that we are known for. Right, we're not going to sell this to someone who we can't help. That would be silly. Just like we did for Ross, right? He went from having no plan at the age of 42 to now being set to retire at 50 within the space of 8 weeks. So in the space of 8 weeks, going from having absolutely no idea what to do with his money or how to, like, without any kind of retirement plan, then 8 weeks later, knowing that he can retire in 8 years' time. Imagine that. Matt, who went from depleting his inheritance savings from his nan with no future plans to now investing £500 more per month than he was before and retiring at the age of 47. Angelica, who thought she was going to have to work until she was dead. Those are her words. Quite a funny interview if you watch it on my YouTube. She's now saving $1,400 a month more and set to retire at 55. And I've also helped her map out and actually execute her emigration from Guatemala to Spain as well financially, so that she knew she could do that. And she's now living there, and she runs a dog breeding business, which is pretty cool. Juliana, who went from no goal and no plan and literal financial anxiety to now being able to save $4,500 a month more per month between her and her partner. And they are both now set to be able to stop working at the age of 51. Right, and so on. You can see more stories there, more stories on my YouTube. I think there's about 18 interviews I've done with them now. There's hundreds of individual success case studies on my highlight reels, my client wins highlight reels on my Instagram page. Go and watch those as well. Ultimately, what I'm trying to say here, if you are serious about bettering your finances and would like my one-on-one support, literally holding your hand throughout the entire process, take this opportunity whilst it's here. Get your video course, lock in your call, and jump on the opportunity to join the Academy with over $2,500 less than it's going to cost anyone else. Because if you do, you could be the next person I interview for one of these. You don't have to be, of course. Not everyone wants to do it. They want to stay anonymous, and that's fine. But you could be if you wanted to be. And that would be really, really cool. Now, we talked earlier about your options, as you can see on the screen there. Option 1 being try and do this all yourself over the next few months and inevitably years, right? And hopefully not making too many costly mistakes, but you will. That's just part of the process. I did. Okay. Option 2 being buy the course, get the access to the Financial Freedom Academy, and get everything you need, and me building your entire plan for you in the space of 30 to 60 days, your full entire lifetime financial roadmap complete in about 2 months. And also, by the way, guaranteeing you get the results you want or your money back, plus another £500 of my money. So my team will tell you more about that on your first call with me. So just bear that in mind. Now, I've been running this program for 2 years. So I've spoken to a lot of people in that time. And of course, some people do decide to go it alone, right? They don't get the video course and they also don't get my help. And they just say, I'm just going to try and figure this out, which is wild. In those cases, I always follow up with them 6 months later. So anyone who has not got the course and also not got the one-on-one coaching program, I follow up with them to see how they're getting on. This is what we find for those people who don't get any kind of help at all. Many of them just end up becoming overwhelmed with the steps, not knowing the exact starting point for them, and therefore they just don't start, and life and opportunity just continues to pass them by. They also don't know what choice to make with the various investment types, investment platforms available, investment different like assets and all that kind of stuff, investment accounts. And because they're not really sure what to do, they guess. That often leads to them choosing the wrong or a less optimal option and paying more in fees or losing out on tax efficiencies that would have amounted to tens of thousands of pounds more in their accounts, right, later in life. They also often lack the confidence they need to continue investing because something happens in the market, an announcement is made, a war breaks out, so on and so forth, all of this kind of stuff, which is inevitable. And because they're doing it on their own, they have no one to bounce ideas off of, no one to discuss, no one to get guidance from, and they end up just quitting or stopping or making a bad decision. Now, in the 2 years that I've been following up with people, in the 3 years now that we've been following up with people who took option one, which is to not get the video course and not get any one-on-one help either, we've spoken with nearly 800 people. And I'm going to tell you a mind-blowing, have a think, what percentage of that 800 people do you think had made any progress after 6 months? I can tell you, none of them. Not one of the 800 people who have actually picked up the phone to us after 6 months of choosing to go it alone without the video course and without the one-on-one help had made any progress whatsoever. And you might be sat there thinking, well, that's Joe, it's only 6 months, give them a break, right? But I see the other side. I see the fact that within 60 days, the people who did take action had their full lifetime financial roadmap mapped out and their full financial potential unlocked versus them who have not moved a single inch. And I think they're actually now further behind than they were, right? Because they've not taken action. So they are losing out on years of their life that they could have been financially free, tens, if not hundreds of thousands they could have had in their investment portfolio. And I don't want that for you. Because like I said, those who did take the leap with me, who joined the full program and got the video course, had their roadmap built in under 60 days and were saving thousands more than they thought they could, becoming debt-free faster, saving 23 grand in interest on their debt, having an investment plan and strategy in place that had them set to retire years earlier on the passive income that we were helping them to build. The gap between those who didn't invest in themselves at all and those who did is now huge after just 6 months. That's how much difference you can make. And that gap is growing exponentially every single day, okay? So ask yourself, which side do you want to be on, right? Ultimately, the side with those who are actually progressing and accumulating wealth and unlocking their potential with a clear path to financial freedom, or the side with those who are stuck where they've been for years because they've continued to not take any risk or take any action. They are now just going backwards as you continue to fail to unlock your wealth potential, right? You just got to pick a side, whether it's with me or anyone else, just pick a side. Now, obviously, we have a lot more people who want option two, right, having it all done for you, than we actually have spaces available. Unfortunately, we've still got over 600 people on this call across 2 platforms, and only now, 30? So I need to change that slide. 30 that will actually be able to access the course and the tools and have the opportunity to join the full program. Now, the reason for that limit goes without saying. Like I said, my team of 3 and I can only take so many calls in a day. And I will only take on the number of clients I can work with in a month, okay? And that's why only those who purchase the video course will get the opportunity, ultimately, to ensure that we're giving our time to those who really want it. You're the people we want to give our time to. Now, it might be that you are unable to get a place if you haven't already, but you should be able to see the link in the chat to claim a spot. I really just hope that you jump on this opportunity. You can see all these messages from the people who have actually gone through the program and have got the results and how happy they are with it. But I hope you give yourself the best chance to be in a position that these people are in now. And I'm really excited to help as many of you as possible. So just make sure you get yours locked in ASAP. Click the link, lock in your call, let us get an understanding of who you are. And ultimately, if for any reason you decide not to claim this one-time offer tonight, and you decide to give this a go on your own without any help at all, knowing the statistical likelihood of that resulting in no progress being made after 6 months, then it's probably a sign that you're not a good fit for this. And if we never speak again, that's totally okay. Ultimately, not everyone is built for this. But I would encourage you to just take some form of action, no matter what it is. Just take one step forward today and do something you weren't doing before with your finances before it's too late and you find yourself in a place where you can't actually afford to save enough to achieve the retirement lifestyle that you wanted and end up having to make concessions on your quality of life, because that is the reality of what will happen to anyone who isn't taking action. Okay. I hope this training has been that stepping stone or that kind of like guidance, that kick up the arse essentially that you needed to encourage you to take some form of action. Just remember, the longer you leave it, the harder and more expensive it gets to catch up to where you could have been. All right. Wonderful. Right. I'm going to go through Q&A. So let's open that up. Just want to get this back to here. Right. So Q&A shouldn't be too bad. Right, let's find one. Do you have to be American for this to work, whatever this is? Absolutely not, Colin. So about 80% of our students are in the UK. So no, you can be based anywhere. So Abigail has asked, does debt-free mean mortgage-free? So it depends on what part of the phase, the process you're talking about. Ultimately, we run this on a person-by-person basis. So obviously with a video course, if you're doing that by yourself, you'll have to figure out if that's something you are going to do, if you're going to overpay your mortgage or not. If you're working with me, I can help run the scenarios that show you, okay, well, if you did overpay your mortgage and then you invested, here's when you get to retirement. If you didn't overpay your mortgage and invested all this spent money instead, this is when you'd likely to get to retirement, so that you can make a data-driven, informed decision about what you're actually going to do with your money. And that is the difference, right? I can put you in that position where you can rest easy knowing that you made the best decision for you with all of the information to hand, rather than winging it and always wondering, oh, I wonder if we've done the right thing, or actually doing it, finding out years later that you did the wrong thing. We can avoid the risk of that happening. Right, someone asked the same question there. Could I use... Right. Great question, Joseph. Can you achieve the success with your program if you're self-employed? 100%. We've worked with people who are typical 9-to-5ers, people who are completely self-employed with huge variability or relative stability in their month-to-month finances, people who are in 100% commission-based roles, people who run limited companies, people who are based abroad but have UK investment accounts or foreign investment accounts or both. Ultimately, the principles kind of transcend borders. I've got an understanding of the UK and US tax systems, so I can work with pretty much anyone from those places, as well as the Canadian system, Australian system, and if there's anything else that I need to learn in order to build the system to flex it to where you're specifically based or your specific set of circumstances, then I learn how to apply that for you. Okay. Helena has said, I feel like I can organize and come up with a plan myself, but have no idea where to start with the investing. If you've got no idea where to start with the investing, then I hate to break it, I don't mean this to sound rude, but you won't be able to build a plan for yourself, because the biggest and most complex part of the plan is the investment plan and strategy, especially when it comes to building things like ISA bridging strategies and knowing how to leverage ISAs and use them in tandem with SIPs and general investment accounts and bed and ISA strategies and all of this kind of stuff, as well as understanding what to actually hold in each of those accounts. That's the most complex part of this. The easy part, if you've got systems, and for a lot of people they struggle with it, maybe for like budgeting and maybe like savings, yeah, that's easy, right? It's basic maths. How much have I got and how long is it going to take me to save that? But the investing part is like 90% of the work. And that's what I come and do for you. But I have to make sure everything is done start to finish in the most optimal way possible to know that we're going to get the feed through, right, and the momentum from start to finish, and all the applicable data we get from those initial parts of the process to feed through into the latter stages to know that we're essentially maximizing what you're going to get out of it. Excellent presentation, very clear rationale provided for the techniques and tools. I'll give it thought and of course take action. Amazing, glad to hear it, Jen. Ignore the American. Okay, I've answered your question. Do you advise on? So Hannah has said, do you advise on what and how we can invest? What I do is I educate you on what you could invest into to get to where you want to be, show you the potential outcomes of each of those things. My job is to educate you so that you're in a position where you can make data-driven, informed decisions about what you are going to do with your money and your investments, so that you're in the best position possible to take control of that, so you are never reliant on anyone like me or an advisor or a planner ever again. Okay, to empower you so that you can avoid all of the fees that come with using those services, so that you're in a position where you feel confident about what you need to do, because it's often so much more simple than people realize. But advisors and planners hide behind this guise of complexity that they make out as necessary when it's really not. And it's why 70% of them fail to just match the performance of the investment strategy that we teach people how to implement. So hopefully that answers your question. Let's do 3 more, right? I'm being told that if you have already booked, do not book again. I think there's on the thank you page, it tells you that your checkout isn't complete yet, and if you've booked a call, sometimes it doesn't take you to the next page, so people end up booking more calls. If you book more than 1 call, we're going to have to assume which one you want and cancel the other one. Okay. Yeah, so basically when you get a call, you'll get a confirmation email. Check your junk if it doesn't come through immediately. Okay. Lovely. Right. So in terms of the cost for the program, this has come up a couple of times. Ultimately, it depends what you need, right? Everyone's circumstances are different, and we've got different tiers that are available depending on what you need. Could be anything from 3,000 up to 10,000, depending on the different packages that we have. And then obviously there's the £2,000 off of that. So depends what tier you need. But yeah, nothing to hide in that respect. So thank you for asking the question. It really does just depend. It's like going to a mechanic and saying, how much is it going to be how much is it going to cost to fix my car? And they don't know what car you have, how old it is, service history, any previous repairs, what the actual problem is, how long you've had it, all of this kind of stuff. We need to know that in order to know what it's going to cost to help you get to where you want to be, essentially. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, do answer that one there. Someone said, do we have to buy the course to join the academy? If you don't buy the course, then you don't get access to the £2,000 off, because it's a specific funnel, essentially. Like if you buy the course, you book a call on a specific calendar that we have, which we know then qualifies you for the £2,000 discount. So if you go in via any other route, you won't be offered that discount, and it'll cost you £2,000 more than anyone else. And then you'd have to buy the course anyway. So essentially, yes, it makes financial sense for you if you're going to do this at all to get the course, because it qualifies you for the offer that we're running tonight. Anonymous attendee has written, I'm worried that at 55, I have left things way too late, but have a lot of cash to invest. Can the academy help me? 100%. Like I said, if you've got an income and money and the desire for a better future than you currently have visibility over, it will 100% help you gain visibility over that. Ultimately, if you don't have a solid retirement strategy in place, if you feel like you've just got money that isn't working as hard as it otherwise could be for you, we can show you ways that you can get that working for you using the 4% rule to get you to where you want to be. So that is the real game changer. Like I said, we've had students age range from about 22 up to 67, right? People, no matter when they're getting started, we look at when they would likely have ended up retiring based on current circumstances if they continue to on the trajectory they're at, versus the plan that we get in place for them. All of them are set to retire earlier than they otherwise would have. So if that sounds good to you, and you don't know how to do it yourself, that's why I built this, right? So that would be my answer there, Mr. or Mrs. Anonymous. So Nicola has said, I've purchased the Financial Freedom Academy. Thank you very much. So please can I confirm, are all the stats shared today, are they based on they're based on the one-on-one coaching program? Because obviously it's where we can ensure that the data is real, or we can't kind of essentially trust that when people are doing the video course, that A, they're even going to get back to us when we ask them for data, and B, that they're providing actual figures, right? Whereas when we're working through the process with individuals, we know that everything has been done meticulously and accurately and properly, and we track all of that data so that we can provide people with, the average kind of results that we get. So it's not the fact that you wouldn't be, so you said then what happens if we are not chosen for this? There's not really any reason why you wouldn't be chosen if it's something you want to do. And obviously you can make it happen. So I wouldn't worry about it. Go into the call with an open mind. They'll walk you through exactly how it works. We're not here to try and sell anything to someone who doesn't need it or can't, essentially make it happen. So have a conversation with them and go from there. Essentially, whether you go forward to do the one-on-one program or not, either way, you need the video course. That's the key thing to remember here. So if you do end up doing the one-on-one coaching program, it's not like if you do that, then the video course is a wasted investment. Like, you still need it because it contains your instructions on everything you need to do as part of the one-on-one program, but it's also a standalone thing that you could potentially use if you wanted to try and get as far as you can, versus having nothing at all. So either way, whether you do the program or not, you need the video course is what I would say. Okay. Already answered that question on the price. I signed up for the video course, but go and see the email, get answer straight away. So if Hannah, if you've signed up and you're on it sounds like you're on a 4-month payment plan, you will get access straight away. Okay. So that email would have been sent to your email address. If it's not in your inbox, it will be in your junk folder. There will be an email from, I think it's from Money Coach Joe, should be. And it should say, the subject line is your name. So it'll be Hannah, here's your access to the video course. So search your inbox and your junk for video course. And if it doesn't come up, then likelihood is you've entered your email incorrectly, and therefore that's why it's not going out to you. So if it's not there, contact support@financiallysavvy.co. Okay, not .com.co. support@financiallysavvy.co. Contact them. If you have checked your inbox and you checked your junk and you still can't see it, contact us and we'll get you sorted. Right, let's go to a recent question. Answered the price question already. For those of you who missed that, it really depends on what you need. Ultimately, there's packages between £3,000 and £10,000. So depends on the service that you need. So without knowing your exact circumstances, I can't tell you what yours would be, but then you'd obviously get the money off offer that we're running on the particular tiers that applies to. Okay. So go into that call, they'll get to understand you and your circumstances. They'll walk you through what tier is applicable for you, and then they'll guide you through the costs for that, and show you how that can be managed. Okay. I'll find a question that A, makes sense and that will actually help people with an answer. So Jack has asked, you stated a money back guarantee, but the website Q&A says no. So there is no money back guarantee on the video course, because obviously if you buy a video course, you're responsible for showing up and doing the work. And if you do, you will get results. If you don't, you won't get results. That's the bottom line. Whereas when you join the one-on-one program, there is a money back guarantee for that, because when you join the one-on-one program, you're signing up to get my help to help you unlock your potential and get your plan in place. And if that doesn't work, if you're the first person I let down, then I don't deserve your money, right? So therefore you would get your money back for the one-on-one coaching program. So that's the difference. There's a money back guarantee for the one-on-one coaching. There isn't for the video course. Okay. Yeah, good question, Brooke. Could you do this working with a couple and combining capital? So income, I assume you mean. Yes, we do this all the time. So people come in with varying circumstances. Some people are obviously single, some people are in a couple, and for the couples, they're either wanting to do it for just their side of the equation. Maybe their partner has a really good like public sector pension and they just want to make sure they're not completely dependent on them, or they want to combine everything. And we look at combined finances, combined household expenses and income, so on and so forth, and build a plan based on a combined pot, which we're going to use to invest for achieving their financial freedom goals in line with each of their workplace pensions as well, and getting like I say, tying all of the pieces of your household financial puzzle together to get you the most efficient plan in place possible for you achieving financial freedom. That's exactly what it is we do, Brooke. So those are all. I've answered 12. I did 7 more. Okay. So I've answered as many questions as I can. Ultimately, guys, like I said, so if there's any issues with anything regarding receiving links and so on and so forth, then do reach out to support@financiallysavvy.co. Ultimately, though, it will be either in your inbox or in your junk. And if it's not, then it's 99% of the time because the email was entered incorrectly. So double check that if you're able to. And if you feel like you might have entered it incorrectly because it's not in your inbox or your junk, reach out to the support email and they'll get you sorted. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for sticking with me for the 400 odd people who are still here. I know we've gone way over time, but as you can tell, I'm pretty passionate about this. So I'm buzzing. I can't wait to hear how your calls go and to essentially be working with a few of you over the next potentially 9 months as well. So have a fantastic rest of your evening and rest of your week and Christmas and New Year. It's that time of year now, we've got to say that as well. And I look forward to working with many of you very, very soon. Remember, take some kind of action off the back of this, because if you don't, it's only your future self that's going to end up struggling as a result. Okay. Take care, guys.